I got about 30 slides here, and I'm going to kind of burn through them hopefully relatively quickly, so we can get into some discussion type of stuff here. But I just want to say that project area is in northern Wisconsin. Okay, it's up in Bayfield County in this township right here. And this is me down here, about 350 miles away. I'm closer to the initial point, which is about 4 miles that way from where I'm sitting right now. I'm almost due north of it.
Mm.
So part of the issue I ran into, or part of the problems I'm having with this is I can't run down to the courthouse to get information. So I have to depend on trying to get information from other people. And of course, they've got their own projects that they're working on and stuff like that. So when they do stuff for me, it's basically out of the goodness of their heart if they can get around to do it. uh, Although I do try to guilt them, I pretend I'm really old and I cough when I'm on the phone and stuff with them and that. But it works pretty. So basically, it comes from a surveyor that organized a lot of my sessions I did for Northwest chapter of the State Society, which is the upper like 12 counties in that area. And he periodically will ask me questions on some stuff that he's working on. I think this one kind of started with a basic question and kind of snowballed from there. And a lot of this stuff was communicate emails flying back and forth, a periodic phone call here and there, collecting stuff online, doing research. You know how it goes when you're working with a surveying project. It's never I start with my problem and then I have a logical progression all the way to get to the end. You get part way down through it and you run into something, say, oh, I got to get this information, all this kind of stuff. And like I say, being removed geographically from the area made it a little bit tougher for me. But
Yeah, right.
but what I did is I kind of put together the primary points out of the stuff that's happened so far and kind of assemble them into this little presentation here. And I finished this up this afternoon. And I sent that past Bill, the guy who's a surveyor on the project, and a county surveyor up in Bayfield County, and asked him to look at it real quickly and see if there was any major errors that I had in it. And outside of using a wrong county name at one point, they said it was okay, so I'm ready to fly. But any of the errors that creep into here are my errors and not from stuff that they misinformed me or didn't do or whatever type of thing. This is a copy of the original plat. This is the GLO copy of the original plat. You know that when the plats were created, there was three of them. One went to the national, one went to the state or to the local authority. One went to the government land office and one went to the National Archives. Well, this is the one that's online at the GLO. And I like to use their stuff a lot because it's not identical to the stuff that's in Wisconsin or the original ones because it is a copy. But the stuff that we have in Wisconsin online is we were one of the first states to scan the stuff to put it online. And it's not the best quality scan, so it's hard to read sometimes. So I like to use these from the GLO office to augment that information. They're a little bit clearer and that type of thing. But if there are any differences, I generally try to note them on it. But in this case here, there weren't that many differences. So I'll be referring to bits and pieces of this guy as we go through here. It started out with a simple question that Bill sent me a few weeks back here. He says, I've attached a copy of Section 9, Town 44, North Range 9, West Bayfield County, Wisconsin. As you will see, a majority of the section is made up of government lots. I'm wondering if lots 1, 2, and 7 are considered to be the northwest quarter of the section. If so, what about lots 8 through 11 being the southwest quarter and as part of 9 appears to be in the southeast quarter? So my first response back to him the idea they were trying to create as many nominal quarter sections as possible in fractional sections, and then everything else would go into fractional quarters or government lots. Now, I don't know about the states that you guys were under, the instructions that you were under, but in some places around the state here, even if they're labeled as government lots, numbered 1 through whatever, on the original patents, they were referred to as fractional quarter sections. So you'd have like lot number 4, government lot number 4 would be the fractional northwest quarter, the fractional northeast quarter, the fractional northeast quarter of Section 9. Or you would see it as government lot number 4. And that's basically what I responded to him was that uh, you could identify either way. But the reason we want to know this is because in Wisconsin, and we'll see this kind of reoccurring theme when we deal with surveys, whether they're original surveys creating new parcels or retracements of existing surveys, we tie everything to the public land survey system in some way, shape, or form. That's our cadastral framework, and I'm sure that's probably true in most PLSS states. So if a certified survey map, which is a minor subdivision, or a subdivision, that the location has to be by government lot, recorded private claim, quarter, section, So right in the title, it says you can use a government lot as the identifier. And the same thing for retracement. If you're doing retracement, shall describe the land surveyed by government lot, recorded private claim, and so on and so forth. So because government lot is identified in there as a fundamental PLS unit, I told them that you can either refer to it by government lot because that's the whole reason they had the numbers there to begin with, or you can refer to it as a fractional of the fractional. And I went through and I searched for some original patents in that area to see how they identified them in there. And they were primarily identified as government lot, but I have seen them as fractional quarters and that type of thing. And again, like sometimes you'd have a fractional parcel were put together, like instead of having 2 separate fractional lots here, 9 and then divided up into here for a fractional quarter here, they lumped them together so it kind of spilled over into the next nominal quarter section location. But that's why the numbers are there, is to use them as a unique identifier. So government lot number 9 of Section 9, so on and so forth, is a unique identifier. Well, the next question came up in that because what he was doing is he was working, let me back up a second. In government lot number 10 down here, he was working on a certified survey map in the eastern part of it. And one of the other things that we're required is to tie our survey bearing basis to the public land survey system. So he said this is very much synopsized or summarized from what he had sent me. That was a longer letter. Attached a preliminary copy of a certified survey map I'm preparing. The main issue is to me is to reference to a monumented line of a government survey. It has to be a monumented line. I show the south line of government lots 10 and 11, or 11 and 10, previous survey with brothers, and on file at Bayfield County, indicate a monument at the corner between government lots 10 and 11. Measurements today put the monument to be 0.75 feet south of a straight line between the southwest corner and the witness corner to the south quarter corner of Section 9. And we'll get to that in just a second. The south quarter corner of Section 9 was set in the original survey, but due to dam construction on the Eau Claire River, we have about 16 Eau Claire rivers in the state of Wisconsin. They're all over the place. But anyway, the original corner is in a lake. There was a flowage that was put in there behind the dam. And the section corner location now is underwater. And this is about 200 feet to the east of the witness corner. So in Wisconsin, if you're doing a new survey, creating new parcels, you have to have a north point that's related to a boundary line of a quarter section, recorded private claim, or federal reservation, and the location should be indicated by bearing distance from boundary line of a government lot monumented in the original survey. And this is the key, is it has to be an original government survey. Okay? Some of you know that I brought up in the past the history of Wisconsin with the center of section and all this kind of stuff and how we all have different definitions for it. We specifically exclude the center of section as being a place to use for a reference because, one, it's not an original government corner. That was a subsequent corner. And second, we had 3 different ways of setting it, so you're never sure which one you're dealing with. But the point is that the directions have to be referenced to that. When you're doing a retracement, it basically says that in the minimum standards for minimum property survey standards, its reference is provided in that statute, and the statute says basically an identifiable land of public land survey. So everything ties back to that PLS, and it has to be a monumented corner. Well, here's that section 9 again, and this is off that GLO copy. Here's what it looks like coming out of the Bayfield County GIS. And that's based on accumulation of the survey records. Surveys have been done in that area. We don't have coordinates on that stuff as far as I'm aware. Like some counties have county coordinates on things, but I don't believe Bayfield County has them on these. At least I've not seen it on some of the tie sheets I've looked at. But the purple lines in here indicate subdivision into those government lots. And it's a little bit of a skewed section, which we expect to happen when you got a lot of waterways involved in that type of thing. If you look back at the original, the plat here, you can see that the section corner falls in the water down in here. And you got some projected distances. You got all sorts of meander posts and stuff along through here, and we'll see that in just a minute. But there is a little difference between theoretically how it should have looked and in reality how it does look. But it kind of looks generically the same. Well, the main issue, and this is this preliminary copy of the public land of the CSM. This is lot number 10 right here. So that's, back up a second, that's this guy right here, or this way. So he's basically taking this part of government lot 10 and making a certified survey map out of it. Okay, so it's basically a two-lot subdivision in here. And he has to reference it to a monumented line of the public land survey system. So the southeast and the southwest, not southeast, southwest corner and the south quarter corner, which is now out in the lake, were set in the original survey. And the construction of that dam caused the water to overflow that. And eventually a witness corner was set at this point, 200 feet west of the south quarter corner. Okay. Now he says that he found a corner that marked the monument that marked the corner between lot number 10 and lot number 11. Okay. And if that's divided correctly, then that lot corner should fall on the section line, right? Because it's a subdivision of the section. Well, he says it's 0.75 feet south of a straight line between the southwest corner and the witness corner. So if I blow this up here, from here straight to there is that line. And then you've got a bend in it down to that government lot corner, about 0.74, 0.75 feet. I computed it was 0.74 feet, but it's about 3/4 of a foot offline. Okay, so that's one issue we have to kind of come back and revisit. So what he did is he says he referenced his CSM to the south line of lot number 11 because he had a monument at both ends. But remember what the instructions, what the requirements are, it's got to be an original government line. And this corner would have come in afterwards, and it would not be then a government corner. Okay, it would have been a subsequent corner. With that in mind, and he says another option is to reference the line from the southwest corner to the witness corner. So basically he's saying I can either reference my survey to this line that's got a monument at both ends, or I can reference it to this line, which has got a monument at both ends. See what I'm getting at there? Okay, there's a little bit of difference between the two. Okay. So which way is the best or most proper way to reference the line to to a line of the government survey? So which is the best way to do it? Which is the correct one to use, or the correctest, I guess we could say? Well, we got to step back. At that point, I saw all these monuments and these corners and stuff like that. I said, well, let's go all the way back to the beginning and see how this was laid out to begin with. So I have this diagram here. This is kind of intense, but it's pretty straightforward. Where Hiram Fellows did the original township subdivision in the sections back in July of 1856. And because there's so much water up in this area, you couldn't do it conventionally, starting out the southeast corner of the township, and then going north, random, true, random, and all this kind of stuff. He wound up having to modify, as most surveyors did out in the field, and they ran into issues. So these lines are merely in here in the sequence that were used to create the corners for section number 9. They're not the actual sequence run throughout the entire township. It's just for setting section number 9. And this is just a real quick and dirty summary of what he said on each of those lines that he ran. I do have copies of the original notes, and I've got his calls, his topographic calls, his hitting streams and all that kind of stuff. But basically what I'm keying on here is, what corners did he set? So when he was going north on 1, this first run here from the section corner here, he set a quarter corner at 40 chains, and then a meander post at 56.90. And then he said at 80, section corner in lake. And there's no monument there and no accessories. He wasn't able to go there because it was out in the water. So then the next thing he ran, because normally you'd run this line here to that corner, then run random and true to correct this line back. So what he did there, because he couldn't do that, he went over to the existing corner here and ran that line backwards. So you ran that west between 10 and 15. He says you ran it as a true line and set the quarter corner at 40 and the meander post at 43. So there's no correction back because there's nothing to close against. Okay. The third one he ran, now this is interesting. He started at a meander post up here. So what he did is he computed the position of that corner right there, set a meander post, and then from there ran to another meander post, and then section corner here, up to 3, the third line. And then ran down back at 4 here, ran north, set a quarter corner, meander post, set the section corner, ran this way, and because there was nothing to close on here because that section corner was out in the water, he set, he went from the southwest corner of 9, set the southeast, on the next page, ran a true line, set the quarter corner at 40, and then a meander post at 40.96. So almost about a chain after the quarter corners we set as meander post. Then he went back here and ran north, meander post, quarter corner, meander post. Then he couldn't set a section corner because it was in the water. So again, he ran this line backwards. Couldn't run random and true going to the east and correcting back to the west. So he went up to the corner that he set up here and then ran it as a true line back this way. So there was no correction back. So he said meander post, quarter corner, meander post. Nowhere in there, anywhere, did he set a witness corner. Okay. Now, when were they supposed to set a witness corner? Technically, wherever you couldn't set a regular corner, and a witness corner then would take the place of it. You could have 2 kinds of witness corners. You could have one that was on the line, or you could have one that was off to one side. The one that's on the line you can use for proration purposes. The one that's off the side you technically can't use for proration purposes. But he did not set a single witness corner. Now, he ran this in 1856, so it would have been under the instructions of 1851 or 1855, which are essentially the same thing. Okay. And at that point, it did say in the instructions, it did say you were set a meander corner when you intersected a meander of a body of water and all this kind of stuff, for a witness corner when you couldn't set the section corner because of its location or because it could be destroyed later on. But he never set a witness corner, and that's an important thing here when we're talking about this. So this is our section 9 here. There's that line that was running there. So the only regular corners were set and meander posts were set. No witness corners. Northeast corner 16 was in the lake, but the position was computed because he computed the position, how to get to that meander to run that one, meander post to run those guys north there. All right, so if we look at, these are actually his original notes from here. We ran it at 10:24. When it was running from here at 10:24, he encountered I'm trying to read where I am. 20 research, running high bank, sandy, 14.8, same bank, 40 lengths wide. 27, same bank, southwest. 40 set quarter section post. Then he puts his bearing notes. He puts one bearing tree and says no other near. And a 40.86 set meander post, white pine north, and he gives with the call for that. So that's his witness post that he put at the or witness post he put down there. And then at 80, he always calls out 80, even though he could not occupy that point. He always called out the 80 chains to the section corners where they were, and then he gives his running account of the terrain. So here's our
Jerry,
southwest. Oh, yeah.
yeah. So two things. One, he wrote down 80 so they could get paid for the mile.
Well, yeah, probably, but
Second, a while back, so a certified survey map, what is that definition? So you talked about creating.
we have regular subdivision plat creates all
Okay,
the parcels, lots for subdivision. A
okay,
certified survey map is considered like a minor subdivision.
got it.
You can't create any more than four parcels. Okay.
Okay, got it.
And there's a lot. It's still regulated under Chapter 236, but it's got fewer requirements. It's not as strictly regarded and doesn't go through the formal review process like a subdivision does.
Okay, yep, got
So
it.
wherever you got just like a parcel split or just creating like in the case of waterfront property where you just want to have a couple of properties that with waterfronted, it's a lot of times it's done with a CSM,
Got it.
Certified Survey Map. And
Okay,
those are numbered. Those aren't named like a subdivision. And what happens is I don't know if I go back far enough.
so that'd be like ours. We have parcel maps, so
Yeah, we don't.
it'd
Yeah, we
be
don't have it on here. But
yeah,
what happens is when it's accepted for recording, at that point, then it's given a number.
got it.
And then you would buy like lot number one of CSM number 2438, that
Okay,
type
yeah,
of.
that'd be similar. And then lastly, Mr. Anderson just joined.
Oh, Bill, how you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, if you want to jump in at any point and correct me or tell everybody tell them I'm a bald-faced liar, feel free to go right ahead.
One of the smartest men I know.
Yeah, I
Who,
am a bald-faced liar, see?
who's lying now?
But anyway, okay, so okay. So these are the original. This is what we have out there now. Now, I remember he said a witness. He said quarter corner and a witness post. He never said a witness corner. Witness corner is different than a meander post. And in Wisconsin, in particular, at the very end, we'll talk about some Wisconsinisms. There is a distinction between the two. That's an important one that exists in our case law, okay, which is causes a bit of grief. And now, if we look at, and it says, and we'll see in a couple other things, but we did see where it said the witness corner is 200 feet to the west of the section corner, or the quarter corner that's in the water. If we add this distance here, which is Bill's resurvey distance between the southwest and the witness corner, add 200 feet to that, that gives us a distance of 39.31 chains, which is about three-quarters of a chain short of the 40 chains that was listed to the south quarter corner. So there's a little bit of a difference in there. And again, the question uh, is that a reasonable difference between the two, or is something else going on? Okay. So then I contacted the Bayfield County Surveyor's Office and the young gentleman there how long has he been county surveyor? Robbie, you're here. Robbie Turnquist is the county surveyor. He joined us tonight. I'm not
Okay.
sure how long he's been there, if he wants to chime in, but he sent me some information, and I asked him what kind of information does he have in the county surveyor's office, because depending on how that office has been run over the years, it could have a lot of detailed information or it could have a lot of scattered information, that type of thing. In Wisconsin, we've got historically we've had it's county surveyors offices where the county surveyor is actually a surveyor that goes out and does remonumentation and that type of thing. In other places, like in Dane County, it's primarily an administrative position, and he contracts out remonumentation work and that type. He doesn't actually have a field crew that goes out. Uh, or you have like Don Barnes that we had years ago in Rock County that had a field crew, and they brought him a brand new truck, but because it only got like 9 miles to a gallon of gas, they would never let him take his field crew out. So he had a field group, but he could never field them and that type of thing. And again, depending on who ran that office and how they organized their records and stuff, you could have some pretty detailed information that's easy to find. Other times, it's impossible. So it sounds like from what I got from Robbie is that there's kind of a mixture of stuff that was available in that office. And his field notes are from the 1890s. Various field notes, maps in the mid-20s, gaps from the 20s to 30s with little to no records. And then one of these guys that you wish you could just like chain to the position and keep them there. Bernard Hams, who evidently monumented and documented the living daylights out of everything there for 2 years until he went off to World War II. And then records up to the 90s are few and far between. So there's kind of a scattering of stuff. So it's one of the first places you want to go look anyway, particularly when you're dealing with remonumentation type of stuff. And as well as, any of the surveys that are filed, they're supposed to be filed with the surveyor, county surveyor's office. But in the process, he had sent me some information, and Bill had sent me some information that he dug up. And one of these was a Section 9 South Line retracement field notes by Harry Johnson from the he says he surveyed in the 1920s and 1940s. One of the things that we noticed about a lot of the stuff in here, very little of it is dated. So you get information, but you won't know when it's from in a lot of cases. And we weren't sure what the date was on this, but judging from what he turned up, I guessed it was probably closer to the 20s. Because if you look, when he ran his south line, at 40 chains, he hit the lake shore. Okay, going so Lakeshore MC stump washed out and floating 4.2 links south of quarter post Marks Plain. So he had a meander corner stump. Let me go back here to the notes. Okay, here's where he says meander corner, and it had a white pine bearing tree there. Okay, as well as a bearing tree here, but this is the meander post that he set. And Johnson says meander corner stump washed out. And he says the marks are plain. So we know that's the meander corner accessory, floating in the water. And then you continue to the corner of Comet, the 9, 10, 15, and 16, which was originally in water. And he intersected 8 links, 8, he says 8 intersected 8 north of corner. Now, it's interesting for 2 reasons. One, we don't know if that's 8 links or 8 chains. I'm assuming it's links. And secondly, the corner was never set because it was underwater. And thirdly, if he surveyed to it, what time of the year was he surveying? Those of you down south may not encounter this, but wintertime. He's probably out there on the ice. And we have had situations like that where people have actually in original surveys set corners on ice, and then come springtime and it all floated away and that type of thing. So he did continue on to at least a computed position of that, and how he determined that he was so far north of that, 8 links or whatever that is north of it. But that's interesting in and of itself. So I'm guessing he probably did it in the colder part of the year. But there's an accessory for that original meander corner, or the meander post that was there. All right, so the next thing we look at are the remonumentation records. And these are to the remonumentation records for the southwest corner of Section 9. And here's where some of the mysterious type of stuff starts to really rear its ugly head. This was done in 2020. And in 2020, some surveyors are really good in giving a history of the corner, not just what they found physically there or how they established it or what they accepted, but they'll go back through and list what they got from their research, wherever that may be, about the information for that. Now, it's kind of hard to read here, but basically, chronological order, 1856, Hiram Fellows set the original corner and his bearing trees. And then it jumps to 1961, so over 100 years later. Okay. T.W. Nelson, PLS number 260, found a 4-inch capped iron pipe in place on a map of survey. So there was a found iron pipe there that somehow appeared in that 100-year period. We don't know how, from where. Undated map, T.W. Nelson, PLS 263, found an iron pipe in place. And whether that's the same one or not, we don't know. It doesn't say what the dimensions. December 21st, 1974, an additional 13 years after that, found an iron pipe in place shown on CSM number and then a certified survey number. June 19th, D.A. Martin found an existing 3-inch pipe. Okay. So now we've gone from a 4-inch pipe, we've gone from a post to a 4-inch pipe to a 3-inch pipe. Okay. September 2015, D.A. Martin, that's found an iron pipe shown on CSM net. October 10th, Zetlow found a 3-inch steel pipe. Okay, that's like the one that Martin found. And November 5th, let's see, found 3 to 3.25 inch outside diameter iron pipe, 1 foot plus or minus below ground level. Monument lands in the mowed lawn. So that 3.5-inch outside diameter pipe could very well be a 3-inch nominal iron pipe, and this could be the same thing as that. But you can see what's happening here is the character of the monument is changing, or what represents that monument has changed and shifted position, but we don't know where the stuff is with respect to each other, okay? So in this case here, here's his tie notes for it. So here's his accepted position or whatever. And then he found a witness to it and set a couple of other witnesses and all that type of stuff. Describe anything. Was a corner restored? How was a corner restored? And he just said found perpetuated location. Okay. So if we go back before that, the tie sheet before that, 17 years earlier, corner existing 3-inch steel pipe. I accepted this corner in 73 when I recorded the point of Pine subdivision document number such and such. Where it came from, we don't know, okay? It shows up on a plat of survey old, negative, which is not dated or not identified as to who did the survey. So, and I think that's the blue line, the blueprint I'm going to show you in just a minute here, okay? So, Jesus, guys, surveyors got to take better records than this, you know, because remember, you're creating the footsteps that somebody else has got to follow later on, type of thing. So that's the southeast corner or the southwest corner. Now, if we go over to the next corner over, this one says, and this is confusing against 23, a meander corner on the south line of Section 9 in the town of Elgeta. The south quarter corner of Section 9 was originally set in 7, but due to the lake load, there was an original meander corner set at this location. November, found an iron post. This is 100 years later again. Found an iron post on Government Law 4, Section 19, which has nothing. I think that's a typo. I think it's supposed to be Section 9, because Section 19 is over somewhere else entirely. But there is a Government Lot 4 that's in the northeast corner of section number 9. So I think in the subdivision of that section, the smaller aliquot parts of those government lots and stuff is when he recovered a corner, but we don't know where it came from. Martin again found a 2.5-inch captain stamped by T. Nelson, shown at February L.T. Nelson. A different PS. It turns out that I was talking with Robbie about this, and it's a 3rd-generation family of surveyors there now. So it's father, son, and grandson now. They've been through there. So this is the father and son type of situation here. And 2020 found a 3-inch outside diameter cap from projecting 23 feet, 3 inches above the ground. This pipe was set by Nelson in whatever type of thing. So that's, they refer to that as the meander corner, but it's not the meander corner, it's the witness corner, because the meander corner was on the east side of the quarter corner on the lake. Remember, it was almost a full chain past it. And this is this is the witness course. So somebody witnessed that original quarter corner, and somewhere the 200 feet appeared that it's west of that quarter corner. But we don't have any documentation that shows that the monument was set online and that distance from there. Going back one more tie sheet. This is found 2-inch capped iron pipe, 0.8 feet plus or minus above ground level. Pipe is 200 feet west. Okay, it says pipe is 200 feet west of south quarter corner of section 9. Now I don't know if that means it's due west or if it's on the line or if that's just a general call. But basically, that's a found one, but we don't know how it was set. Okay. Got it so far?
Mm.
Just to note too, Jerry, that
Yeah.
you do have a map in your, yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a couple of these maps of call now. So
About 3 weeks ago, I had one of my guys go out to see if that pipe was in the lake, because we know there's 3 feet of ice, right? He get he gets a little ways out there. Apparently, she's spring fed. He went through. So
well, yeah.
if there's a pipe out there, we won't know it till somebody wants to go out and wade out there in warmer temperatures.
Do you know about how deep the water is out in that area?
Well, I looked at a lakes map from the DNR, and it looks like somewhere between 3 and 5 feet.
Okay, because I think somewhere in something here I saw that it said there was about 2.5 feet of water on. It's under
Yeah.
2.5 feet of water.
Yeah.
But again, we don't have anything that defines how that pipe was set. So we don't know if that was set as a replacement for the original quarter section post that was there or not. It just was there and people started using it. For instance, this is Section 16 subdivision map by L.H. Clark. And Section 16 is down to the south. That's also got government lots, so it also shares that corner between lots 10 and 11 up in a lot number or section number 9 here. And he just shows a 3-inch pipe, which is one of the things we saw in one of the tie sheets there for the history of it for the southwest corner of 9. It shows pipe here, which could very well be that corner that was found at the intersection at the common to government lots 10 and 11, and then a pipe and lake and an iron post here. Now, whether that iron post is the witness corner, we go back one more here. If it's that iron pipe that's right here, that's supposed to be, we don't know, because it doesn't give us any, it gives us 1,302 feet and 1,302 feet. Those are approximate distances. Then in here it says pipe and lake, original quarter. How a pipe got there, we don't know. This is a survey done by Hall in 1924, which would have been right around that same time frame as those retracement notes we saw for the south line of Florin. I tried to clean this up a little bit. This was hard to read because I was looking at a copy of a copy. But here's the southwest corner of 9. There's the corner common to sections lots 10 and 11. And there's been a change in the waterways, old dam. This is quarter corner he shows here, original shore of lake, present shore, and it just identifies as quarter corner. He doesn't say what monuments are there, but he does give distances, 19.73 and 19.73. And he gives some angles in there. Then we have this survey, and I think this is the one that other tie note referred to. And it shows original shore of lake, present shoreline, says quarter. It has basically the same dimensions that this one does. It's like a copy of this, but this one was done by a county survey, but the date's unknown. Okay, but no monuments are identified. And then this one done by Peterson, done in, it appears to be about late 69, early 70 stuff. And he shows section corner, shows that corner at the common to lots 10 and 11. And he shows a witness corner, and he shows 200 feet, and found mound of stone in 2.5 feet of water. So in that case, he didn't find an iron pipe. He just found a mound of iron stones. Now, whether he didn't dig down into there to see if there's an iron underneath there, I don't know. But he has slightly different dimensions than some of those other surveys do. Okay. Here's what, this is government lot 10, this is government lot 11 today. This is what the ownership looks like in there. So of course, back in the day when they sold the land and people come out there to settle it and they got into water, they got all ticked off because of all this damn water out there and they couldn't farm it and that type of stuff. Nowadays, that's some of your most valuable land out there, of course. So this is where your biggest issues are going to be. So we got our section corner here, the 16th corner, whatever, down in here, and then the witness corner and quarter corner down in here somewhere. So there's a lot of questions here, and a lot of a couple of dead ends and that type of thing. But some of the stuff that we have, or the questions that we have, is who set and how the following monuments? The witness corner for the south quarter corner. That's probably the most important of all of them, because that anchors that end of the that section line. If you find out, even Bill, if you find the iron pipe and the rocks in the water at the south quarter corner, we don't know how that was placed, so we don't know what authority that has either. Well, let's see if we can trace that back. Southeast corner of government lot 11. That should be on the line between, or should be on the section line, okay, wherever the section line is. And the southwest corner, because we have that history of all those different monuments there, or maybe different locations around through there. Which one really represents the south quarter corner? So we've got this situation existing in there right now. Let's see. What role? The other question: what role does the southeast corner, does that corner right there have on the sign on the length direction of this line? Can it be used in any way, shape, or form to perpetuate the direction of that line? Okay. Is it better evidentiary authority than the uncertainty in the witness corner and the pile of stones at the south quarter corner location at the other end to fix the direction of that line? Okay. Let's see what does the CSM reference the south line of government lot 11 meet the Wisconsin requirements for a basis for directions for a survey? Okay. Now, I think my next, yeah, before we start to discuss that kind of stuff, let me throw out a couple of Wisconsinisms, or a big Wisconsinism. The significance, okay, this is a Wisconsin Attorney General opinion from back in 1977, and as far as I know, the case law has not changed any. It says the significance of a meander line is stated in the manual, chapter 315 as follows. And that's the old 73 manual. General rules of meander lines not run as boundaries, and so on and so forth. Okay. In accord, Wisconsin case law says that meander corners established to be to mark the direction of a town, of a section or town line to meander body of water. The meander post is itself set a certain distance back from the water. The setback minimizes destruction of the meander post by the waves and all that kind of stuff, just like it says in the manual. But then the court says the true property corner is the ordinary high water mark, not the meander corner. Okay, and then they got a bunch of case law. The meander corner only controls the direction of its line to its intersection with the water, and such intersection of the property corner. The meander corner is not used as a measuring point. Okay. Furthermore, in Underwood versus Smith and in Thunder Lake versus Carpenter, the so-called meander corner is not a fixed point for measurements, as are established section corners and quarter corners, but is a marker for courses. So basically it says in Wisconsin, the meander corner is only used to fix direction. It is not used to fix distance. You can't prorate between them. Okay. A witness corner can be, but a meander corner cannot be. So we have case law on that in Wisconsin. And
for over 100 years.
Huh?
For over 100 years.
Yeah, it's been around for a while. That goes back a ways.
Yeah. 1914
and it's been reaffirmed a couple of times. So and it's just like we've had, and the BLM has always said, no, you're wrong, this is the way it is. Well, we had for 11 years a different way of defining the center section. And that's been upheld in court also. So even though the federal government says it's always been connection opposite corner, that's fine. It's always been that way in Europe. But in Wisconsin, we did it different for a while. And when people did that and acted with respect to it, then by golly, wherever the surveyor placed the monument, right or wrong, is where it belongs.
Mm.
So we throw their own rule back at them and say, okay. So the reason I bring this up is because again, there was never a witness corner set here. There was only meander posts that were set. So when we got that, excuse me, we got that recovered witness corner that's there now. We don't know where it comes from and stuff. So I throw this out as I've got a couple more other items that are kind of looking for additional stuff for this, but this is the majority of stuff we've hit so far. So, guys, tell me how to solve this problem. Yeah,
You have loaded the question bigger than anybody else at this point.
yeah.
And then so when the subdivision that went into government lot 11, when was that subdivision done? Like this
The one
lots,
the one that Bill just did, the CSM, you mean?
no, the other one. So that what set the
Oh,
southwest corner of the section. Yeah, this subdivision there.
well, okay. Here's the other drawback of being 350 miles away and not being able to run down to the county
Sure.
courthouse.
Yeah.
I can access that information online, but it's going to cost me $5 for every page I look at on there.
Yes.
And they won't, if I say, well, this is for educational purposes, they'll say, well, fine, pay $5 for your education. So I can't pull those up. So that was going to be one of the things I suggest happen
Yeah.
is that because some of these things you can actually pull up. And I have pulled up copies of these other guys, some of these other maps I showed you, those partial ones. But none of this more current stuff. Okay, so I can't tell you, like say for instance, one of the things that you have to do when you do a certified survey or a subdivision is you have to do a meets and bounds description of the exterior of it.
Okay.
And a meets and bounds of the exterior has to begin with, or has to commence at an original government corner. So I don't know if somebody, when they did say this subdivision down here, if they commenced at this corner here, and if
Right.
they did, if they called out what was at that corner. If they just said commencing at the southwest corner of section 9, thence all that kind of stuff, that doesn't do you much good. But if they say commencing at the southwest corner of section 9, marked with a 3.5-inch capped iron pipe, that at least gives you an idea of what physical thing they started at.
Right.
And then you try to piece that kind of stuff. And I suspect that in that one tie note that listed all those different monuments that they had at that south corner, that's probably where a lot of those came from. Now, whether the surveyor that did that survey, say the exterior of the subdivision here, goes down and he says, I don't think that's the right spot. I'm going to set my own pipe here and I'm going to call this the section corner, and I'm going to use that. That could very well be how something like that got set. It didn't get set because they studied all the evidence and all this kind of stuff and did a separate corner remonumentation. They just set something that they could use for their survey. That doesn't happen as much today, but it could have in the past. I don't know. And again, Bill probably give you a better idea of the reputation of a lot of the surveyors in that area, the type of work they do, and you could probably look at some of the surveys and the subdivisions plats and who did them and get a pretty good indication about the quality of the work that person does.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that's got to be figured into this, and I don't have that kind of resource that I can tap into.
Yep. Yeah, I was just wondering. It seems like it's like I said, the first surveys were in that area were what 1961 or something, 100 years later. So it was.
Well, I think that the some of those maps that Jerry was showing partials of, there's bigger portions of it, and I believe that Harry Johnson was one of those gentlemen that was surveying down in this area and showing lines run. There was another surveyor named Otto Gobler, and same type of deal where they're showing circles that, and sometimes they're labeling pipes, but they got distances and bearings, and it gets down to what we're using as the section markers, even though we don't have a true chain of title back to the government, they've been accepted as such. Even looking at that corner sheet that Jerry had up earlier, where he said, it went from a wood post to a 4-inch pipe to a 3-inch pipe to a 3.5-inch pipe.
Right.
We know that we come to understand that the guys looking at the pipe are calling it something that it's not, or something that it is. So there's that type of mistake or
Yep.
inconsistency. Yet when you make your measurements, you realize, okay, we believe we're at that pipe. I did look at the files of one of the surveyors down here passed away in recent years in Douglas County, which is adjacent to Bayfield. We have his records. They were brought to the county because he did a lot of work in Douglas County, but he did a lot of work in Bayfield as well. And I went through all his files, and I did not find anything in there that gave us any more conclusion to there's just nothing more than what Jerry's expressing with some of the maps that he's had. So yeah, so that's like where that one map, or in that corner record, it talked about that witness corner being set by T.W. Nelson. Well, I looked through the guy's files, and I couldn't find anything where Nelson actually set the corner, or set that witness corner. So not sure it was him. Could have been him, could have been that, because you look at some of them older maps and they're showing, pipes at these corners, or assumed to be corners, or locations. And Harry Johnson, that Hall, Hammes that was mentioned earlier. Just a side note, Hammes did some stuff in the 40s, and unfortunately, his stuff was done more to the north that I noticed. But you'll see on some of his maps where he found Hall's 3-inch pipe, and then he set his own 3-inch pipe next to Hall's pipe. So and then he put some witnesses to it. So it's just like, so you got these two pipes that are sitting 6 inches apart. So it's just crazy stuff like that we see down here. So it's frustrating, but you try to go with the flow and not upset the neighborhood, as they say.
Yep. Exactly.
So that's some of the things that we're seeing.
I guess, Jerry, the first question was, does the basis of bearing meet standard, right? And so does the basis of bearing have to be within section 9, or can you go to surrounding sections?
Doesn't say. It just says it has to be tied to
Okay.
a monumented original corner line. So technically, even though his survey's in say lot number 10 here,
Yeah.
he could tie to this guy right here.
Yeah. Right.
To the west line.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, if he feels more certain, about a line over here. I don't know, did you explore this line at all?
No, I haven't. And that, so there's two things that you got to tie to the section corner, but you also have to make a bearing reference on your map.
And that's what I'm saying, is if if you found anything up in here, that could substantiate this as original line.
That's why I was wondering what that original subdivision there looked like.
Yeah.
That was my question too. Yeah.
Because in my mind, I would not feel comfortable tying it to the lot boundary. Okay, unless I can come up with an argument that says this thing was in fact set on the line and is evidence of the perpetuation through there of what the line actually looked like based on what the corner was down near the south quarter corner. But I don't think there's enough evidence to do that. I do have some reference that this witness corner is tied to the south quarter corner. I'm not real happy with that, but I feel stronger about that being on the section line than I am about that being on the section line. To me, this is like a closing corner at this point, where the intent was that would control the direction of the line, but not its termination. The lot line has to end on a section line. It can't extend over into another section because then it's crossing into a different section, which it cannot do. So to me, I would feel, to me, based on the evidence I see so far, weak as it is everywhere, is I'd be looking at using the southwest corner to the witness corner as the primary direction reference.
If you did that, what would you do with your corner that's 7/10 off the line here?
I wouldn't do nothing with it because it doesn't touch or concern my survey. But
It would though.
it affects this where this boundary ends.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go to a different map. So
I was gonna say it affects the outer boundaries of government lot 10.
yeah, but it does. Okay, it affects this line, but his subdivision is his CSM
Breaking
is
up.
over in here.
Yep.
It doesn't actually touch that boundary.
Right.
Okay. So it's another question. Well, how far do you go outside of your survey area to fix other people's problems? Okay. Now I have to resolve something with respect to that section line because I have to tie to it, or Bill has to tie to it. So he has to resolve something with respect to that.
Yeah.
But I don't think he necessarily has to resolve this boundary line because it doesn't touch or affect his CSM that he's got in here. Unless you can tie that back to, well, it affects this line, it affects this line, and pretty much, everything around her. But I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Is that a public right of way that separates those two? And it's under common ownership too, so
It's
that's
right here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is
Yeah,
that
town road.
town road?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. How long do the pipes last? Because you got a lot of water. Do they rust out fairly quickly, or do they last, quite a few years?
I don't know.
100
I
years,
couldn't tell you in that
75 years.
particular area. A lot of it also depends on the soil acidity and stuff, the soil composition,
Yes.
and where the actual water table is and that type of thing. But I couldn't tell you. Bill probably give better idea than that I could because he works in that area.
Yeah, generally speaking, we see, it's just exactly what Jerry said, the acidicness of the soil. We've seen where you've got a 1-inch iron bar that was set, say, in the 30s or 20s or something like that. And you recover it and maybe it's pumped out of the ground a little bit here or there, but we've seen them where they have the hourglass shape to them where they're pitted in the middle and still solid on 1 inch on each end. So but we've also seen stuff that's especially galvanized stuff. It's the stuff looks like it's brand new, from 100 years ago. So yeah, it's but in this particular area, these pipes are lasting as long as they don't get disturbed by a bulldozer or a backhoe or someone pulling them out or that type of thing. So
Yeah, see, the one I'd be concerned with if I did try to recover some information about this pipe in lake that has actually been underwater for who knows how long. That's probably the most adverse situation.
It is curious though that I would, it's something that I'm curious enough about that I may just go out there and find that pile of stones and see if there's actually a pipe down in the center of it, once the weather warms up to it sufficiently. So,
snorkeling out there. That's not very
Yeah.
deep. You're just not with a snorkel mask.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is the dam private, or is it state built, or who built the dam?
No clue. And I don't think it's much of a dam. It's like one of those deals where they stacked a couple logs on top of each other, I think. I haven't been out to this. I got a field crew that's has done this, but I've seen these dams in Douglas County before where they just, you know, maybe they're only 2 feet high, 3 feet high. All they wanted to do is, create a little more shoreline type of situation. So there really isn't a whole lot in this particular one. There are dams further down that have more drop though. So
Yeah, I can't really make it out on the, I guess that's it right in there.
Yeah.
So just a little narrow.
yeah, my guys tell me it
Like
wasn't really much of a dam. So, and
Yeah.
it was probably put in, by it could have been the township, it could have been the county.
yeah, well,
Uh,
it had to have some sort of substance to it because if the monument is 2.5 feet to 3 feet underwater, that's quite a bit of water level to raise.
yeah.
So it's got to have, or at least at some point had.
Oh, sure. Yep, I understood.
Unless
Yeah,
yeah, that might be overgrown. That channel might be overgrown by now, so it's got a natural barriers built through there.
yeah.
Yeah, my thought was to date the corner when the 200-foot witness corner got placed in was by when the dam got placed in. Maybe that's when it got set. Um, maybe somebody had some knowledge to set it there.
Yeah, I would suspect that'd be a pretty good place to start with dating it. Because somebody would have seen that it was putting it into a precarious position, and they could at least still measure to it to set the witness corner, unless that's a flat out guess, because it's 200 feet round. I mean, and it's always a question of did somebody measure out exactly 200 feet, or is that just a guesstimate?
Hey, Jerry,
Yeah.
Robbie just saved you $5.
All right, Robbie, would you send
It's in the chat if you want to download the PDF, or I can share it. But he gave you the subdivision plat from '73
All right.
that broke up the lot of or
How's my chat
government lot
window? I can't
11.
find my yeah. Thanks, Robbie. I can't find my chat window. It's behind one of these other windows I've got open here.
I
I do
do
have
have
both.
access to all the recorded plats and CSMs.
Okay.
See, look at
Oh, there we go. Got it. 1473 PDF.
yep.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, I would say this
Yeah,
is
that's one of these things where, and you guys know this is true whenever you do a survey project like this, is you start going down a rabbit hole and then you suddenly find that there's all these little offshoots and there's all these different other things to look at, and it opens up a whole nother can of worms for you as you go through all this stuff. So let me save this. Okay.
it's not it, there's not really a smoking gun in this one now.
See, it's one of those things where
Oh my goodness.
um, it's hard to reach a concrete solution. I don't know. I have to look at the subdivision map and see if there's some
Yeah.
other stuff that can maybe give an indication.
Well, he doesn't show the section lines, but he does say he found a 3-inch iron pipe as the southeast corner of section 8, which would be southwest of 9.
Right.
Um, and it does give a tie to a top of something bar. So
Oh, in Wisconsin, that could be a drinking bar for all we know.
It is how we give directions here.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, well, I mean, he shows the section corner, but he doesn't tie to any kind of section line, so that is not going to help whatsoever.
The only thing it does is it adds some degree of credibility to a corner that's there,
Yep.
that somebody at one point used it as a section corner.
Yep.
Which is why I always, told my students all the time, is if you remind me of a corner, if you find something that's different than what's there, you go and put yours in, but measure the hell out of everything else that's around there. Because even though they may not be the correct section corner, somebody may have still depended on it for something. So it still has authority. Because I still run into surveyors every now and then says, well, I just pull them out because they're wrong. I said, don't pull them out. Pound them down a little more so they're out of sight, but don't pull them out.
So I was just looking at his surveyor certificate too, just trying to read some notes in there, but see if there's anything kind of smoking in there. But
Oh no, all that'll say is I've done everything according to law and my firstborn. I wager my firstborn on all this stuff that it's all a true and accurate representation.
yeah, he's got me some.
Except it's subject for any easement of record.
Nah, he put some meets and bounds in there, but it does say it starts at the southeast corner of section 8. Did not tell what
I
then
haven't opened it
commencing at the
yet.
southeast corner of section 8, thence 3112, 59, 57.92 feet to a point which is 60 feet more or less from the water's edge.
Okay, but what is he used for his direction reference? Now
Yeah,
it's either going to be on his north arrow, or it's going to be towards the end of his meets and bounds description or something. It's probably by his north arrow.
nothing on
He's got to say all bearings are referenced to the whatever line of section 9 or section 8 or whatever, assumed to bear whatever.
bearings are true, solar, dated January 12th of 1973.
Oh, geez, he did solar bearings? Oh,
Would you
Jesus.
rather it been Polaris?
Yes. You only do a solar to a couple of minutes, for goodness sakes. You can do Polaris down to seconds. Me and my T3 will go out there and do it for you. Solar
Yeah.
73. Whose name is on a certificate?
Zetlo?
Zetlow. That's Frank
Fred
Zetlow,
Zitlow.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
there you go.
yeah, I knew him. I can see him doing solar. But it
So,
should have been tied to a section line or a quarter line. Yeah, Frank's that low.
so since we have Robbie back on here, so this subdivision stops at the west line of State Highway 27. So that means there's another subdivision or CSM on the east side that would have established the boundary line for east lot of 11. So I'm curious to see if I wonder what map would cover that. That PDF is up in front.
I actually have that would have been section 16 to the south, and I have
No, it wouldn't be that one. If you close up PDF, it's the east side of Highway 27. So it's the two or three lots. Yeah, those right there where your cursor is.
right there. Oh, I thought you
Yeah.
were talking about down this way because
No,
that's section 16. And I've got the subdivision stuff for that.
those three lots right there.
Well, we don't know if those were a subdivision or if those were individual parcels.
Hmm.
Okay, those could very well. I'd have to. I suppose I could go into the GIS and pull up the descriptions for them and see if they're
Mhm.
lot and block descriptions, or if they're meets and bounds. If they're meets and bounds, then they probably would tie to a section corner, a section corner. Excuse me. Depending on whether they call out what's there or not, though.
Yeah. So the line that separates lots 10 and 11 has monuments at both ends. Of course, we look at the one that
Yeah.
Jerry showed where we tied it in. There is one that's north of it slightly, and then up at the north end, there's I think a couple to choose from as well.
Variety is the spice of life.
And then when you go east on the north line of lot 10, I think we ran into that same thing, as that we were looking for monuments and found, the a variety, and the line wiggles through there, and it's just which ones do you use? So the whole all of government lot 10 there was a map of survey on that. So Fred Zitlow was the one surveyor that owned Vacation Land Surveying, and then it was taken over by this Dwayne Martin.
Okay.
And Dwayne Martin did the bulk of the work in down in this local lakes area for 30 years. And a lot of his maps look just like Fred's maps, so they were they worked worked with each other and just adopted that same kind of mapping format. But so many times with Dwayne's work, you would see that, found 3/4 inch pipe, found 1 inch pipe, found this, set that, and the stuff wouldn't match for what he's saying he set or found, but it would match well with, certainly reasonableness with your dimensions from pipe to pipe. But we also found too that he'll show a series of pipes online that aren't it's not on a straight line, the line just wiggles, but I guess when you're standing on the ground and the true line's 7/10 of a foot away, it's, from a practical standpoint, it doesn't mean anything, but as a land surveyor, that's just crap that bothers me. It's like, and then you never know what happened with the freeze thaw cycle too. You like to believe that when stuff freezes and thaws, it just goes straight up and down, but I've been shown otherwise as well.
Yeah. Well,
So,
we've got, the original notes and stuff for setting of the quarter corner, section corners, and meander posts and all that kind of stuff. But anything that happened inside the section, the putting in of those lines for the government lots and stuff, or any aliquot parts, there's not necessarily going to be any record of how that was done necessarily that's going to be publicly available unless you can dig it out of somebody's private records if they do have it. They could very well have just gone down, half the distance down here, or half the distance compensating for the 200-foot offset for the witness corner to the quarter corner, and said, bang, that's where that guy goes.
yeah.
And just eyed it in online. Hell, they could have pasted it. That I mean, there's it's not a clear sight along through there, so that the fact that it's not exactly online isn't surprising. The question is does 3/4 of a foot offline reasonable or not in the context of when it was done? Today, we would say that's not reasonable, but 150 years ago, maybe it was. But that doesn't change the actual section line location if it's not on the line. If it does encroach into section 16 to the south, like I say, unless there's something that gives you more credible information that it was online when it was placed, I'd still kind of lean towards that witness corner, although I'm not 100% sold on that either. But at least that shows, in some places, some relationship to the quarter corner. That's underwater.
And just for another site, so stuff in section 16 has been surveyed, and the there's a condo plat directly south, and on the condo plat, that surveyor, and this was done within the last, I think, 10 years, and the condo plat, that surveyor chose to, I believe, use the section corner and the witness corner for his basis of bearings. And he does show the difference, with that 40 corner as well. So
yeah, this is this one's one of those that's undated.
yeah, so there's that's your section 16.
That's section 16. And so there's that pipe and lake. This is that one that I took that piece out to show you.
Yeah.
But here's their division of it. But it down in here, I mean, it doesn't really show much. It shows 2-inch pipe down over here. But I didn't look at the Riemann stuff for down this way.
Yeah, and there's a map that looks just a lot like this up in section 9.
Yeah.
And it might be the stuff that Robbie had talked about being done by this William Lake, and his work, I think, was in the 60s, working for a real estate company, and we found that his measurements were historically pretty poor, certainly with his angles, and I think the distances between his monuments seem to be okay, but the uh, uh, just the directions, the angles, they oftentimes don't work.
There's this 73 map. There says there's an existing certified survey would be around the corner, which would possibly be show that meander corner going north from the section corner. I'm curious to see what that survey might have too, but which would have been prior to 73. Interesting. Yeah, no, this is a fun one. Kind
Well,
of like
maybe
like
fun
Kyle's
for
last one.
you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. It's fun from this side.
No, I understand. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of these things that we
Yeah.
run into it quite often. And what I guess to me, what's the best practice to, make this survey work? Or I mean, the way I look at it, the monuments are shown, bearings and distance are given. A guy's going to be able to go out there and find what we found in the
Yeah.
location that we say it as, certainly with today's measurement technology, even easier. But when we look at the statute that says you got to tie it to a original government line or original government corner and make that reference, how, what's the best way to make the reference, and I think that in these areas like this, I've come, especially down in this particular area where so much work has been done and these monuments have been accepted, you come to just, are they at the original government locations? I have no clue, but they're represented that way. And we have no other information that we don't have bearing trees. We don't have, in most cases, and we don't have really a good pedigree on these monuments. So you live with what's there, but now how do you fit within the rules of Wisconsin?
What
Does the county surveyor sign off on the CSM?
He does.
Okay, so then that's what I guess that would be the question. Can the two of you agree on as if to stay outside of the board's issues, can the two of you, once it's signed by the county surveyor, that means that you two have agreed on this as being a government line BOB, right? So I wonder.
Well, technically, uh, it's best to document that in the form of reminder.
Yeah.
We're required
Yeah.
whenever we we change anything about a section corner location, like add another tie to it, even if we accept what's there. If I put a couple additional ties in because I'm afraid the other ones are going to be destroyed or whatever, I'm more or less obligated to file a remonumentation record with the county surveyor's office. Okay, so that would be there and would be in the files. And basically, what you have going backwards to the files then is the history of who filed remonumentation sheets. But as we're seeing that in the past, that didn't always happen. So then you'd get this, well, everybody's doing his own research and finding this information, but you don't know where the information is coming from, so you don't know about the credibility of the information. And when the monument changes character, a 2-inch pipe, a 3.5-inch pipe, a 4-inch pipe, is at the same location that's got a different pipe, or somebody didn't take their little ruler out with them and measure the damn thing to see what the size was. Or
Calipers,
actually physically
Jerry.
different locations,
well,
Uh,
one thing I see in
4 inches right there, 4 inches. But so but if anything else comes out of this, one of the things, if I was still teaching, I would use this as an example in class and say the most important thing is to date everything and explain why you did what you did. Because we got a lot of information in there, and a lot of it we don't know where it was from or who it was from or why they did what they did. And unless you can identify a lot of that information, how do you assign credibility to this stuff? Then you have to resort to, like Bill is saying, well, we basically have to accept it by common report. And by common report, it just means we don't necessarily feel happy with that location, but we can't really disprove it. Okay? We may feel inside here that doesn't seem right. But unless I can disprove that, then everybody's happy. Everybody agrees to it unless somebody raises a stink about it. And the only reason that they'll raise a stink about it is if they have better evidence.
Right.
And the only way to make sure they don't have better evidence is make sure that you got all the evidence that you can lay your hands on.
Exactly. Document, document, document.
Yeah, and but again, remember that 20 years from now, people are gonna be looking back at us, what we did today,
Right.
and say, why the hell didn't he da 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 da? Same type of thing. So I like to think we get better as we're going through the profession, but I'm still seeing some things that I don't feel real comfortable when I see surveyors today doing things. But part of the problem is that's how I learned to do it from the guy that I worked for that's been doing this for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
And basically you picked up his bad habits.
Indeed.
Anyway, that's
You know,
my soapbox.
Jerry, in California, we see the same things on pipes. People call it a 2-inch iron pipe, but when I was describing, they were 2 and 3/8 ODIP, outside diameter. Uh, I see people that call it a 1-inch pipe, but they set a 3/4 inch pipe inside. They went to the outside, but they don't tell you that it's the outside or it's the inside. You just got to guess. I just pulled a 4-inch brass cap that I have, and it's got a 3-inch diameter pipe in it, but the outside dimension of the pipe is 3.5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see, these guys are looking at it, probably just, oh, that looks like a 4-inch. And it could be a 3.5 outside diameter. You don't know. And you are correct. They're not describing them correctly.
Yeah, and that's like a 2x4, I mean, there's a 2x4 and there's a 2x4, One of the things that our plat review does, they put out a platting manual for subdivisions and CSMs and that type of thing about all the stuff that goes into them and the statutory regulations. But one of the things that they put in there also is what our monument criteria are in the statute that says you have to have a certain minimum length and a certain weight for different types of monuments and stuff. And then they actually have tables in there that give you the equivalent in an iron bar, square iron bar, round iron bar, rebar, and in pipe. Then in the pipe, they give you the nominal dimension. So if it's a 3-inch iron pipe, they also give you what the inside and the outside diameter of that thing is. So you've got something that you can refer to. So when you say 3-inch nominal pipe diameter, you know something more about what the actual physical structure is besides just, well, I measure it's 3 1/8 inches, so it's not really a 3-inch iron pipe. Yes, it is. It's a nominal 3-inch iron pipe, Anyway.
So, from I guess, a business decision, from that aspect of it, how much research went or does go into, especially when you have to pay for maps and that ahead of time. So a lot of the counties and stuff we work in, we can pull all that stuff down ahead of time so we can, and not have to pay for anything. And so having to pay per sheets and trying to get your research done before you propose on a particular project, right? That's always the fun part. So I was just curious
I
on that
think,
aspect.
yeah, it varies between counties here in Wisconsin. Just like not every county has a county surveyor's office. So that because there's a county surveyor's office in Bayfield County, you know where to go to look for the monumentation records. But if you go to a county that doesn't have a county surveyor's office, then you have to probably go to the land information office, then find out how those are filed there. And the person that's collecting that information won't necessarily have the same knowledge that a surveyor does in that position, so wouldn't know what the requirements are as under the administrative code requirements for a remonumentation record and that type of thing. But same type of thing holds true with the access to the public records. Now, there's some counties that use the similar subscription service. So I know that you can pay for a subscription service, then have nominal fee access to other counties and that type of thing. Some of them you can get quite a bit of information off their GIS online. Others not so much. So It varies. Most have a charge for reproductive costs, basically, at least. And that's why there's that $5 fee with Bayfield County is they're required by law to charge a reasonable reproduction fee, to help offset the cost of that, even though it's public information.
Yeah, that's what I was laughing.
But yeah,
Well, in this particular case, I went onto the Bayfield County GIS site, and you can the majority of the maps we looked at tonight, outside of the subdivision plat and the certified survey map, we can get what we call the maps of survey, or the historical maps. We can pull them right off of that website, but we have to go to the Register of Deeds site to get the subdivision plats and the certified survey map. Anything that's recorded at the Register of Deeds office you have to go through the website,
yeah,
specifically for that, and pay the costs, and the deeds, the certified survey maps and such. So yeah, so that's part of it.
So we get to do a follow-up on this one, like we get to do with Kyle.
well, actually, that probably wouldn't be a bad idea with some of these types of projects that we have coming on here.
Yeah,
stuff like
exactly.
this. Because some of it may be, this could be like a status type of thing. This is where we're at right now. But
Yeah.
some of it also could be now in response to what was suggested at RTT.
Right.
This is what we found,
Yeah,
so it could be
exactly.
something that can be, how beneficial was it to have the group kind of contribute some information on it, or contribute some feedback on it.
Yeah. No, that's great. Kyle, will you be ready with a final decision on your stuff in 2 weeks or no? Or do you want to hold off?
I'll have enough to present again. I mean,
Okay.
I'll either have, enough evidence to
More
say,
evidence. Yeah.
here's some additional stuff, or I will have um, scattered corners to have. I mean, we could do
There we go.
double proportioning just to narrow my search area and actually work through a real life one, or some sort of like, should we do what sort of proportioning or point control
Yeah.
should we do to even start to search this area and try to get the best representation of the corners.
Awesome. Perfect. That'll be cool. And Bill, when's the ice thaw? Next month?
Well, probably as things are going right now, we're probably looking early April, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think I'll go out there quite then.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll still be 34 degrees.
Yeah, I'm not that brave.
Yep.
Well,
But,
actually,
yeah, I
we
mean,
got into the 60s yesterday. It's supposed to get into the 70s tomorrow around here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
I'm 350 miles away, so.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a little warmer weather, but we've got 3 feet of ice on the lakes, but yeah, it's gonna melt fast.
Yeah. And then I guess staying in communication from, again, business aspect, right? Staying in communication with the client. What was their expectation with, having a final survey and
Oh, they gave me the project last this fall. Said, hey, we're going to build a house out here. Or they actually pulled a house off this site for their son-in-law, moved it 20 miles away.
oh wow.
And now they're going to build 2 new houses on the property, and that was what the deal for the split. But they're in Arizona, so they're not, yeah, it just had to happen sometime before this building season. So
Sure.
we're good.
Yeah, this is the online GIS
Yeah.
for that section. There's section
Oh.
line right here.
That's what I was looking
Wherever
at.
there's a dot here is a survey or a description. So if I click on that guy right there,
Okay.
I go to scan document.
So
I say this is a recorded document, then contact register deeds, and if I click on this, it'll take me to Landshark to register for it.
And
But
that would
there's
be
some of the others that you can.
Yeah. So if it's a red dot, it's a map you can download. If it's a green dot, it's going to be a subdivision plat. Or
Okay.
if the tripod in there is red, it's a map of survey or some sort of survey map you can download and look at. And then there's your tax record.
Yeah, and that'll have a basic description.
And then,
Uh,
and some of that too, in the,
used
in
to
the
read
down
all that.
below there, they actually list if there's a CSM against it, they'll list it, in the more recent records.
Yeah,
You can get quite a bit of information off of that. I mean, in each county, are probably same way wherever you guys are from, say, kind of the same deal where there's a lot of different uh, information between the counties. You know, one county puts on, you know, all kinds of good information. Another county, it's pretty low
see, this
amount.
is,
Yeah, so if you get to that, so that's the, yeah,
that's the, these the
that'll be
owners
the
you're
tax
looking for.
listing. But you did have the survey map there for a second, Chair.
Well, I had the link to it, but it said scan documents, so
Oh, no, that would be it though. Just do that again. Because that is a map of survey that we did work from.
oh dang it.
You're on your
Yeah.
PDF. You're on your PowerPoint.
I got like 8 windows open here on a couple of different.
What
There
are,
you go.
what are
There
the
we go.
subdivisions within the county of Bayfield? So I'm looking at that GIS map. I'm looking at Port Wing, Clover, Washburn, Barksdale. What are those?
Townships,
Those are townships.
political townships. Yeah, if you get onto that, Jerry, then it'll probably,
This is
yeah.
clicking
So
for
click on
scan
that.
document.
Yeah, that'll pull
Oh,
that
that
map
one it
up.
did pull up because
There we go.
yeah.
And
So
you know, and you
that's a
can see,
93. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's his witness corner.
Okay. All right.
and then he only goes over to the southeast corner or southwest corner, government lot 10, and then
Existing 2.5-inch pipe captain stamped the witness corner.
yeah, and then the land directly above that he made into a certified survey map, and Robbie did send that to us during the chat. But you can see here that's a good example where he's got all those pipes showing on the line.
Yeah.
You know, we've found a majority of those, and you know, they're not all on the line.
Yeah.
No.
You know, just aren't, you know, and so it's like, oh, what do you do? You know, I mean,
What year was this?
93. So that would have been,
93.
still would have been conventional. It would have been, Sokia guns maybe or something.
Yeah.
But it still would have been
yeah,
better.
he was doing it, he was using a total station.
Yeah, exactly.
But he did all he was a hand drafter. I mean, he did it, you know, it's all
Okay.
Leroying and yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
tremendous amount of work, you know. But you can see on this map too, if you scroll up to north there, Jerry, you can see probably where the dam is.
Yeah, it shows right there.
Right
Yeah.
there.
And I mean, I think it's a walkway across, you know, like a bridge across
Yeah.
there now, or was. And that was a town road that used to be the town road there, and then they got it vacated or discontinued. So, because the same folks own that
Yeah,
that one.
So yeah. So again, it looks like they probably used whatever that corner was, Southeast 11, Government Lot 11, 10, 11, and just ran these theoretically online down to the witness corner. So again, this is not one of those things where they just used them.
Yep.
But they just shows that they use them. They don't show anything else about where they came from or anything.
Right. Yep.
All right. All right, you guys got any other questions or observations, comments?
No, it's be a fun follow-up.
Uh,
Kind of follow along with this one.
I got a couple of ideas from you guys tonight, so
Okay.
but I have the luxury of being I don't have to do this for money like Bill does, so
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I can play around I can play around to my heart's content with this.
Yeah.
Very
So,
cool.
okay.
That's
Well,
awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thank
We
you,
still have
Jerry.
All right. Remember, encourage other people to get involved in this process. And tell them to take a look at some of the stuff we've had come up already, watch the videos and see what kind of discussions we have. Maybe they'd be interested in getting
And then
involved.
how often are you doing this? Is it every Tuesday or once a month?
We're trying to do it every twice a month. We're trying to, because we got so many other things going. We do them
Sure.
all about twice a month. So
Yeah.
We're gonna do it
Yeah,
again in 2 weeks. We'll have
yeah,
another.
this one, we're trying to kind of get re-going again.
Yeah.
Because it's been kind of inactive for a while. So this is one of the ideas we decided to try to use with this one
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
to provide a forum for people that can bring their issues or unique problems and maybe get some feedback from other professionals. Trying to encourage some of the younger surveyors to get involved. Some of them say they're kind of nervous about doing presentations, but
Yeah, James, he's ready now. He's out. Harmony, it's going to be in Reno. So Silver Legacy, it's actually going to be the 29th, March 29th through April 1st. But I think Texas already had their surveyors conference. I'd have to go look, but every state has a survey conference, Harmony.
So I answer a question up here. Brad Watts asked early on, does the highway plans have a tie to or stationing for the section line? And again, Wisconsin, historically, we've just had, poor work by the DOT when you go back into the 30s up through the 60s and 70s. And it's only been probably recent years that they actually started tying things to the section corners properly, maybe in the last 20 years. But yeah, there's not generally a lot of helpful information coming off of a state highway right-of-way plan. So at least
part of the problem that we had with that, and it's slowly changing, is the DOT has always been exempted from having to have licensed land surveyors when they're doing surveying on the part of the DOT. And so there weren't a lot of licensed land surveyors within the ranks of the DOT. But about 15, 20 years ago, when we went to the transportation project plat process instead of the old right-of-way plats, they started to make a concerted effort to try to get at least one licensed land surveyor in each of the districts that would be involved in that process. So we're getting more licensed surveyors within the DOT getting involved in that. But our DOT's turned into a more of an administrative type of agency. When I worked for them years and years ago, I was working on construction. I was out there doing survey control on construction for highway work and stuff. We don't do that anymore. DOT doesn't do that anymore. That's all handled by the contractors. Even all the materials testing and field inspection is handled by the contractors. So DOT's got more of an administrative role in that respect. So they don't have a field crew that goes out there and physically ties to section corners of that type of thing.
Our DOT has licensed surveyors, but they don't necessarily follow the laws of recording surveys. That's part
Well,
of
they're
the
the DOT. They're the DOT.
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. As always, amazing
All right.
stuff. See
Thanks for the
you.
comments, guys. I did get a lot out of this. I think Bill and Robbie probably got something out of it too. And
Yep.
there's a couple of other avenues to investigate and stuff. So we appreciate
Yeah.
it. And I will, once we do make some progress here, uh, and Bill's got some additional type of stuff, we'll put together a follow-up to this.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
Excellent. All right. Thank you,
Awesome,
everybody.
guys.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming, Bill. Thanks for coming,
All right.
Robbie.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
took me a while to get signed in. So computer wanted to update at the wrong time.
Always. Always.
So, all righty. Thanks,
All
Have a
right.
guys.
great week, everybody.
Thank you, Jerry. Good night.
Bye, guys.
Okay.